I know he has already said everything what your company does. Okay, so what is that additional?
I think I'll resonate with what Manfred said. So I've seen multiple tenders coming out from smart cities. One of the biggest things which is missing is smart city tenders talk about technology. They talk about how will they monetize it, but none of the tenders actually focus on what's going to happen with enforcement. And there's no proper structured plan around enforcement. How are they going to enforce the technology and the policies which they are going to implement across? So the biggest problem which we have seen working with multiple smart cities is enforcement. The reason why big MLCP projects fail is enforcement, and the reasons why technology providers also hesitate in bidding for these projects is again enforcement. Because at the end of the day, if you can just go and park your car on the side of the road without paying a penny, there's absolutely no point investing millions of dollars in putting up the infrastructure. So the first thing which definitely should happen across the country is enforcement. Very strict enforcement and proper structures around it. And it many times becomes a political issue, because if you start enforcing too much, your vote bank kind of goes off for a toss. People are not very happy about it. And then second step is then look at what kind of solutions you need. And as again my friend said, and everyone who's sitting here on the dais, we all have phenomenal amount of solutions. We personally are working in 16 countries now, and it is fairly successful in different parts of the world. And the only difference, and the major part of the difference which we see, is the support from the government in terms of enforcement. So when you enforce things properly, solutions start getting into place. Your every technology becomes more effective, and at the end of the day, the consumer is the one who will benefit from it. Because when you enforce, the traffic on the road, statistically speaking, can go down up to go down 30%. Your carbon footprint, emission, and the most important point, uncertainty out of your planning, and the mental peace which you lose when you don't find a parking space will be reduced. So eventual impact will, and the benefit will go to the consumers and to the government at large. But then there's this stickiness in terms of whether you make people unhappy for the short time for the longer benefit or not.
Look, so let me actually. So I heard before I come to Sanjay, I just want to actually hold the thought on both the points, and I think I heard enforcement so many times. I want to make a point. Is it a problem that you will be able to solve as a part of the smart cities or an initiative at the city level? Is it something which you can solve it in 1 year, 5 year, 10 year time frame? Is something which you believe that will get solved?
Absolutely. I think India is, we've been following multiple countries in terms of, and we've been seeing there's a lag in terms of when we implement solutions. If you don't enforce, there's absolutely no point doing or implementing
I'm talking
any of the
about,
technology.
I'm talking about enforcement itself. So you're actually leaving the enforcement to the cities to run.
Yeah.
I'm saying, is it as firms, do you believe that the enforcement or non-enforcement problem will get solved? If it cannot be solved in your and my lifetime, what should we do? So that's the question. Actually, we should not actually look at challenges which are more what you call philosophical and psychological. Okay, so I'm just saying that we are believing that something will happen and someone will do it. I'm just asking the same plain question. Is it some idea that I can take it to the cities, taking the fact that this enforcement will be a challenge, still do it? So can I actually give you a confirmation in the tender saying that you will not lose your X amount of revenue despite losing the on-street parking revenue? So that's the point that I think as a bidder you should be asking. So I'm just saying that can we get actually, as all of us here, because you are the people who are going to bid on the tenders which we write, and we are failing on those, getting you on board. So how can I actually bring you on board? So tell me what can be done today, then leaving it to the municipal corporation and the traffic police to solve this. We cannot solve this problem today.
Fair point. So I think we need to pass on the baton to the consumer directly. So how can we motivate a consumer to actually not park on the street and go on the off street, or go on a proper authorized parking space? And as the suggestion was made in the last round, we need to see how do we provide convenience and how do we communicate that directly to the consumer. If as a consumer I know that it makes more sense commercially and it makes more sense in terms of time, and if I can help them in planning their travel better. So Let me give you an example. If I'm going to a mall or if I'm going to a cinema, and if I make a pre-reservation already, then I will go to that particular MLCP and park my car because I know for a fact that that particular space or a space inside a parking is reserved for me. The reason why I park on the street where I find a small corner on the street or on the road is because I don't know whether when I reach to the end destination whether I'll find a parking or not. So this lack of information is what is incentivizing people to actually break the rules or go into that grey zone and park on the street. It's not because the consumer is not willing to pay that 20 bucks. It's the uncertainty of wasting time and then going there and then circling back to that same spot, and we don't know whether that spot will be free at that point or not. So I think if we can bring everything onto the same platform, give consumers the information which would help them in better planning, we might be able to solve it from the other angle.